What a night at Snapdragon Stadium in San Diego as we welcome you to the SMX Insider post-race show. Round 2 of the Monster Energy AMA Supercross Championship is complete. And after 2 rounds, there's been 2 different winners. Tonight's Eli Tomac, his 53rd career win. And for the 11th consecutive season, he has at least 1 win. So he's broken that tie with James Stewart, and he sits in a place in a club of 1. No other rider has done that in the history of this sport.
Think about that. I mean, that is absolutely incredible, and just how he won tonight. He even said it, not in these words, but what that was like. He didn't know how to explain it, and I feel like he appreciates the level of talent that he is still edging out every single weekend and where he's at in his career. And it was an incredible, incredible ride.
Well, just the expression and the joy on his face.
Yeah.
Jet Lawrence was the first to get over there and say, hey man, what a great ride. And 2 guys who were separated by a decade in age, and 2 very different stories to tell. Really, there they are. They really appreciated the moment.
Dude, look at this. This is awesome. This is so good.
All right, let's take a look at the highlights, because there was a big build-up. I want to give credit to my teammate here. Ricky Carmichael said, I think we're going to see a showdown here. That's what I want to see, a showdown. And we sure did in the 450 main event between a couple of the biggest names in the sport. Jet Lawrence had one thing to do, and that was to do better than 12th, what he did last week in Anaheim.
Yeah, not a hard job to do for a guy of that talent, no doubt about that. And he got a great start, but I wanted to see the best guys in the world face off and go toe-to-toe, and we got to see that for the most part here tonight. Great start by Vince Friese. Goes to the outside, but Cooper Webb, man, this is what he does. We hadn't talked about him too much, but this is when he shows up in times like this. Don't forget, he's a 2-time Supercross champ. The guy knows how to position himself, and this isn't the last time that we're going to see him.
And this was a big error, a self-induced, unforced error.
Yep.
And Chase Sexton said, that was my mistake, a silly mistake, and I paid the price.
Yeah, he did. He came into that corner, and the rear end, he started to accelerate and just got light, and then he over-rotated coming out of the corner. But this guy right here, Eli Tomac, making the move. Now, he's had plenty of speed. We saw him march up through the pack last week. And the guys that he is passing, Ken Broxson, Cooper Webb, I mean, these guys are like unbelievable racers. And he marches up there, but
this is the move. That was not only the move for the lead, that was the winning move.
Yeah, absolutely incredible pass. Jet Lawrence able to keep in tow right behind Eli, and that was a clutch pass by Jet Lawrence, because if he doesn't get by Coop at the same time, I think Eli builds a big gap.
And this was Chase Sexton, part of the comeback campaign. Malcolm Stewart had a great ride tonight, and, you know, adding on to what he did at A1 last week. And but Chase was resilient, and you pointed it out in our race call that it was very kind of similar to what this guy did at A1 a week ago. The crowd loved seeing the legend out in front. They loved seeing the legend win. And that moment, he became a 3-time San Diego winner, joining Ricky Johnson and James Stewart.
I mean, look at this. You got a guy that's won 53 of these things. And it's like that emotion there is like it's the first time that he ever won. And I think that is a sign of not only a happiness, it's been a while, but just how hard it is to win a Monster Energy Supercross race.
And you know what? It's only 2 races in, 2 rounds in, but we're spoiled. 2 completely different podiums.
I know.
You gotta love that variety. Tomac, Lawrence, Webb. Have a look a little further back. Let's give some props to Hunter Lawrence, who finished behind Roxon, who rode 6th. Then Chase had that comeback to 6th. Malcolm, another good ride. Barsha, Ferrandis, Joey Savacci in the top 10. Some really good results there.
Great rebound from Malcolm Stewart, like you said. Ferrandis, Savacci, for sure. I mean, Ferrandis wasn't even in the main event last weekend.
And continuing to walk through them, an interesting result there with Jorge Prado ahead of Anderson, who was on the podium last weekend, and that's a 2-position improvement for Jorge Prado, which is what he said he needed to do, build his Supercross experience and continue to improve.
Yeah, stacking chips, that's what he's got to do. Make every race, make every lap, that needs to be the goal.
And last year's San Diego winner, Aaron Plessinger, pulled off the track early. He was riding under the weather as well, and he was kind of grabbing his right forearm, so hopefully that he can be healthy, back to full health for A2 next weekend. All right, we couldn't ask for it to be any closer. Eli Tomac by 1 over Chase Sexton, by a further 2 over Ken Roxon. It is super tight after these opening 2 rounds.
Yeah, I mean, especially from the 1st to 4th position, and then you got Jet, who's 10 points behind, but really, I mean, it's at 0, and wins are going to be so important, and consistency is going to be really, really key. And I think the starts as well, because these guys are so close in lap times that they just can't spot that kind of track position. I mean, look how well that Chase Sexton rode, come up through the pack, and all he could get to is 6. Similar to Eli Tomac last weekend, if these top guys, if Jet Lawrence gets the whole shot and the other guys spot him 5 seconds, it's almost impossible to make that kind of time up.
Last year, Jet Lawrence in his championship campaign had 8 wins. That was twice as many as the next closest. This year already feels a bit different, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. It's exciting. Each weekend that I come, like, I don't know who's going to win the race. I really, really don't. I have an idea, but I'm just not confident in my idea, because I could make a case for all of those guys of why they could win.
Well, the case in point is that after 2 rounds, we have 6 different riders in the 450 class who have stood on the podium.
Right.
That's phenomenal.
I mean, do you go to Anaheim next weekend and bet against Jet? No way. You don't bet against Eli. You don't bet against Chase. You can't bet against Kenny. I mean, it's just, they're all that good.
That's a great point.
You know, it's
big props to Roxon, the way that he started this season.
Sneaky, and Cooper.
Yep.
I'm telling you. It's going to be exciting. I can't wait.
And we started before the first gate drop at A1 last year. We started with this celebratory theme of it's the first time ever that we have 5 champions, starting at the beginning of a Supercross season. Well, then you throw Roxon into that mix, right? The most successful guy yet to win a championship in the 450, as far as race wins, etc. So I think we're off to a really promising start, and people had some objectives coming in to this second round, specifically at Honda HRC, and Jet Lawrence said, well, we couldn't get much worse than 12th last week in A1, so there's only one way forward, and that's what he did tonight, that's for sure. Let's go to the HRC camp, the Honda team, with Will.
Thank you, Lee. Lars Lindstrom with me now, team manager for Honda. Lars, I don't even know where to start with asking you about your day today. I mean, just the highs and lows of it all. Let's go through the guys. Let's start with Jet and Hunter. Hunter, we didn't even know if we were going to see him ride today, and he just dug deep, incredible out there. So talk to me about that, and then Jet. I mean, you guys had a week. You had a week to get this together, and there he gets himself on the box.
Yeah, I mean, as far as Hunter goes, he really was hurting today, and had to dig deep, like you said. Just hanging out up in the bunk with his mask on, trying to keep us all from getting something, which was super thoughtful of him. So yeah, I mean, they put in a lot of work this week. I don't think we were as far off as it seemed last week, and I think we proved that tonight. I mean, obviously, like anybody would say, Ricky or any of those guys, that to improve that much in just a couple of days is not really feasible. So I think we did improve the things that we needed to improve on. And both riders proved that. I mean, Hunter getting 5th, even with the sickness, and then Jet having just that incredible battle with Eli. And I think Eli was, in beast mode, and Jet was giving it, everything he had to stay with him. And what a race! So I'm glad that everybody was freaking out for us, so that we didn't have to.
Just before we move on to Joe, there, where are you now in the grand scheme of things? I mean, you've obviously made a lot of gains, but these things take time. So what do you do this week? What's the work still to be done?
Well, I think right now we can always improve the bike a little bit. I think we're in a decent spot so that they're going to be able to go home and just focus on doing laps. So, sometimes you just have to get these repetitive laps and get that muscle memory, like Darren Lawrence likes to say, and so that you know exactly what your bike's going to do, whether it's good or bad. So that's where we're at right now. I think they need to go home and just do that, and then we'll tinker on the bike and improve little by little. When it comes to Joe, unfortunately with what happened earlier with the pitboard hitting his hand, he does have 2 broken bones in his hand. So we really have to assess that and possibly see if we have to get it fixed at the beginning of the week, and hopefully we can be okay to race for the next weekend good. But that one's going to be tough, I think.
Proud of him for getting out there. We didn't know it was going to happen, and he finished strong.
Yeah, really, really proud of Joe. I think that in the past he hasn't had a reputation for being the tough guy, and I think that his mental toughness is really, really getting there now. And I think this was a huge step for him to take. And so, yeah, he's a samurai warrior now, So we'll see how he can improve and come back next week.
You're tough too, Lars. I know that was a tricky day, but you came through it. Congratulations all around.
Appreciate it very much. Thank you.
What a contrast week to week, that's for sure, for the guys in red at Honda HRC. And a reminder about the SMX playoffs and, of course, the World Championship finale. Yes, that was announced just a little over a week ago with C-Max Dragway. Concord, North Carolina kicks it off. The Dome at America's Center, that's a point of difference. You like that one?
I do. Oh, I love racing in St. Louis, so I'm going to be there.
And then under the lights again on the strip, the Las Vegas Motor Speedway for the finale, to see if Jet Lawrence and Hayden Deegan can win 3 in a row. Can you imagine that? Hey, speaking of Hayden Deegan, let's take you to 250 highlights, because this race was pretty interesting as well.
It was. It was. Some surprises, some not surprises.
This was a big talking point.
Yeah.
Joe Shimoda, look here in this highlighted area. There is a pit board out and smashes Shimoda right in his left hand. His clutch hand broke 2 fingers. The championship points leader. There's nothing more freaky that could have happened.
I mean, think about it. You're on the top of the world, and then the next thing you know, you don't know if you're going to race.
Yeah. But this was a really gutsy performance. He worked with the team and trainers and figured out that he could do it and was ready to line up and ostensibly go into damage control mode, trying to protect as many of those points that he got, get some more.
Look at that Monster Energy Star Racing Yamaha Cole Davies getting a whole shot. Man, he had an incredible night, Lee.
Sure did. And then Julian Beaumaire aboard the Red Bull KTM went with him. Jordan Smith on the Triumph wasn't far behind, but this 17-year-old from New Zealand led the way for such a long way until Beaumaire said, all right, I've had enough. I want the lead.
There you go. I was wondering if he was going to do it, because it was setting up to be the same situation as last weekend, where I thought he could have made the pass. Well, he did. And what an incredible ride by Joe Shimoda. And that was a nasty get-off by Ty Masserpool. What happened there is he overjumped that thing, and when he did, his face just smacked the handlebars. It was like an uppercut from Renthal handlebars, just whacking him.
Meanwhile, Cole Davies, while still running towards the front, had a little hiccup, went off track. His teammate Hayden Deegan was right there to pounce, to put the pressure on him.
Yeah, and then Ryder D, what happened there is he came out to triple, and I don't know if he was in the wrong gear or he got wheel spin, but comes up big time short and gives a gift to Hayden Deegan. Man, I hope that this guy is able to race next week after what Lars is having to say. I would just hate that for him, and just it's a bummer for any rider.
But from a story of hardship to a story of celebration, a week ago in Anaheim, Julian Beaumaire had his first top 5, which was a podium, and in the span of that week goes from his first podium to his first win. Incredible performance for the teenager.
I mean, the guy looks like a full-on veteran to me. Hardly made any mistakes. Just cool and calm. He's marching up the field, made the move to get the lead, and well done.
There were 2 guys smiling on the podium. Hayden Deegan was not smiling. He did not enjoy finishing 3rd. He had to dig his way through further back. Jordan Smith, back-to-back podiums. Well done.
Oh, incredible. Now he's only got one more position to get to the top.
Again, so if Malcolm Stewart got the Tough Guy Award from A1, we give it to Joe Shimoda this week.
Yes.
Riding under duress, and that was a really impressive performance. Thoughts with Ty Masterpool after that heavy fall. and we show you what the points look like, because they're nice and mixed up. Julien Beaumer, in addition to getting his first win, he gets the red plate.
He certainly does, and man, the way he is riding, if you're Jordan Smith, you're Joe Shimoda, and you're Hayden and Ryder, I mean, got to start wicking it up. Remember, these regional championships are abbreviated, and they don't have a lot of races, and it doesn't look like Julien is on the edge. He really doesn't. He looks smooth and in control.
And given the off-season that he had, Hayden Deegan would not be expecting to be in fourth after the first 2 rounds of this season. Showing you the manufacturer points there, which is combined with 450 and 250 competition. And KTM can't do anything wrong at the moment. The victory of Chucky Sanders in the Dakar, Chase Sexton in Anaheim, Juju Beaumer here. It's been a great start to the racing season, hasn't it?
Oh, I mean, and so much fun to watch. And what I think it was great for our viewers in this sport right now is just you just don't know who's going to win. I love it.
So this track was an interesting one, Jason Thomas, tonight. Tell us more about it. What were your thoughts?
I'm standing in one of the most impactful corners of this racetrack, and it's right before the whoops. Now, this is this top rut. You see my foot going all the way inside. This is the rut that Eli Tomac was railing around and getting that big run into the whoops. But you saw how much it deteriorated. I talked about how that was going to shape up all night long. Now I'm going to step down. This is where Jet started to go at the very end. He started to move inside, and this is also the rut where Chase Sexton fell on that first lap. But you can see, there's 5 different ruts to choose from, and it started to drop lower and lower and lower, and this bottom one is where Jet ended up at the very end of the night, trying to shorten up the racetrack and also just trying to stay in the most shallow rut he could find. This is also the area of the racetrack where a guy like Cooper Webb was going to start using. All they're trying to do is shorten up the racetrack. The shortest distance is often the fastest distance once the track gets to its worst condition. So this is not prototypical or the standard San Diego condition, but this is what these guys faced tonight, and it got worse and worse and worse. To see Eli Tomac railing around the top of that berm at the speed he was, that's the stuff legends are made of, and just what an incredible night for the number 3.
It was pretty epic, JT, wasn't it? It was really good to see the speed, and he had that earlier in the day as well. Yeah. So, okay, we're getting into the cadence of this 2025 season. A return to Anaheim next week for A2. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of musical chairs, and there's still a lot of hype. A lot of people are still very, very energetic. And again, I kind of just like to see what happens from round 5 to 7. I feel like that's when you're like, okay. A
bit more in the meat of the season.
In the meat of the season. But I go back to what Lars Lindstrom said, and the boys are going back to Florida. And sometimes, like what Darren, their dad says, you get that muscle memory. And if you take what Lars said and you listen closely to what he said about when you get that muscle memory and you ride that bike lap after lap, you learn what it does good, you learn what it doesn't do good, and you can kind of ride around that. So when they go put those laps in, the bike doesn't have to be maybe as good as it needed to be the last 2 weeks, because now they know where they can make up the difference at. So I expect, from where how that played out with Chase winning, Eli winning, you'd think that Jet would be next in line, but at the same time, there's so many. Those guys are riding so well, you just don't know.
All right, on the 250s, before we get out of here, we're going to have a look at the Anaheim track in just a moment. On the 250s, I'm going to ask the question that everybody's asking at home. Yep. When's Hayden Deegan going to win? Yeah,
I mean, that's the biggest thing that I needed to see. So I watched his interview, and he looked upset, he looked defeated. And you think about this young athlete who is, I mean, he's a polarizing figure. I like what he brings to the table. I know that he's going to be a star. But for me, and with much hype and his ability that he has and how hard they work, it's go time for him, because these guys are putting it to him, especially Julien Beaumer. I think that guy is he's the guy to watch right now, and I need to see some dubs from Hayden.
Yeah, I mean, he's 2-time SMX World Champion.
That's right.
And the outdoor, but he wants the Supercross Championship. He finished 2nd last year on the East Coast. All right, let's go to A2. Let's have a look at what we're in store for next week with thanks to Yamaha. What catches your eye here, RC?
Oh, let's see here. Well, there's a lot of short rhythm lanes. Looks like there's 2 sets of whoops, so that would be interesting. And I don't know. I don't know how the track's going to flow compared to how it was tonight, but nevertheless, Anaheim always majority of the time brings a lot of excitement, and I expect nothing less than what we've seen the last 2 rounds. Looking at it, I like a lot of the 180 corners. Seems like there's quite a few out there. So they'll get some chances to rest. You can see they go back over the tunnel jump and that finish line, or tunnel jump across the start straight. So that'll be a fast section, but relatively short shoots, as I call them, when the rhythm lanes are short.
And this is how you can watch A2. Here is the upcoming schedule. As always, you can watch everything live on Peacock. Race Day Live kicks it off at 3 p.m. and the gate drop will be at 8:30 p.m. There's a re-air, by the way, on CNBC. And for everybody outside of the US, of course, the SuperMotocross video pass and coverage now available in Spanish and French. Wow, San Diego has never really disappointed over the years, and again, it gave us a lot to remember. Julian Beaumer, the latest winner, the newest winner, and the legend Eli Tomac are the 2 riders who leave San Diego with the best results. I'm off to the Rolex 24 next week at Daytona. Jason Wygant is back. We'll see you then.